of your body, from the middle of your body, has to start every action you do with your arm. So I have to, it's what moves my rib cage over. So I move my rib cage over, and then that sends my arm. So the muscle that actually sends my arm out is widening my lat. So my lat stretches out, and that sends the arm out. And it only goes this far. And then to lift it up, it has to switch, and that's this muscle here. And that's lifting it up. Now to get it to go behind my head, I have to switch to this muscle here. And that actually is twisting my rib cage back and behind me. Then I'm going to let my arm drop. I'm going to use my chest to squeeze in. Let the hand open up. I'm going to lift my chest up, push my hand down, and then I'm going to let my hand go out and relax, and that's one. Same thing on the other side. So this first one, when you go to do it, is actually on a diagonal. The second one is more straight in front of you, like it's cutting me in half this way. And then I change to my third. Then I cut my body the other way. Let my hand move.
There's a couple of phases that I don't know what they're.
Then, if I want, once I learn those muscles, if I just use this muscle here, the one at the top that put my arm that lifted my rib cage up and back, it would send my hand to there. If I utilize the muscle right below it, that's what hits my diagonal line. If I use the muscle here, that's what makes my arm go out. If I squeeze the muscle that I used that pushed everything down, it brings my arm to this position. Because when my arm was here, that will always take my arm to that position. Then I had to use a different muscle to let it out. So the muscles don't change. So that way I'm learning how to develop the idea of I want to lift up and back. It goes behind my ear, but my rib cage is back. From here, if I wanted to go, and I wanted to skip the middle part, if I went down and I used kind of lifted the rib cage, but at the top, tucked my ribs, it would go direct to here, wouldn't pass through the middle. If I use the chest, it would go to here. From here, if instead I use the diagonal line or the other line, and then I could go back in. So it doesn't matter what order you use them in. You start developing the ability to do them at different speeds. So maybe I'm slowly going up, slowly transitioning, and quick. So as you start being able to develop that, that gives you some different things that you can work with. Doing that. Okay. So this would be arms phase 2. So I've already been able to go through my cycle and my sequence. So now I want to test if I understand how to target the specific muscles. So I'm going to start to move my chest, and then I'm going to go release. Then I'm going to start to use my chest, release. And it should feel like you kind of have a rock on a string, like you're going to toss it, and then when it gets to the end, the string is there, right? So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to try that one where I use the muscle just underneath of that, which is my diagonal. 1, 2, which is up and out. 3, just my diagonal. Now I'm going to try the one that was just out. 1, 2, 3. It's a different line. That one's lower, right? If I have my arm here, I'm going to try and see if I can do the one where I brought the arm in and down. So you end up targeting each of the muscles that you were using for the out, the up, the behind, the in, right? I might go out, in, out, in, out, but I'm making sure that I start that from a chest in, chest out. So it's starting using a muscle, chest to go in, flat to go out. And when you end up having that fire, then you can start changing speed. Just playing through the different positions. A side-by-side change step as a lady. I want to make sure that as I'm going to dance that side-by-side change step, I need to make sure I'm using my lat to send it out. At that point, as it's coming in, I lift to my diagonal with one muscle, transition through to the other, and then bring it down. And once it comes in, I shift it back out. So that is exactly the same sequencing at that low point, but starting from here, if I did this sequence where you went out, up, just not dropping it behind my head, bringing it in through the chest, and then directing back to an open. Other than not dropping through, that's most of that same sequence. Up, over, out, step, over, and that gives a much bigger, more elegant look.
Waltz.
Yep. And I had done half a box, and I had an underarm turn.
And that, although I think that's, she did rhythm out. She did so like, because you got one piece of drum.
I have a free spin.
And she said, she dances like 10 times and then goes hard.
Or an open break and underarm turn.
Open, break an underarm turn. Foxtrot.
So foxtrot, I'm going to move a little bit more through a bent line. Just because it's a
More through a bent line
here.
because it's jazzier.
And he went through, they might have been a
But I don't move all the way through a bent line.
And
Here, so down, right?
it's like, this was a
Out, up and back, around, down and out. So it's a bear dancing, right? Oh, so I want to take my ankles and I want my feet to do this. So I want to push my ankle in. Yes. So the ankles come in. That way. Changes the shape of your foot. Can you feel that? Now, what that does is it puts your big toe flat on the ground. Okay? And if you were to point your toe, you actually roll up over the top of your big toe rather than the side of it. Part of the problem with not understanding this part of your dancing is if I say inside edge of foot and somebody does that, you're on a bone. That's not going to be good for your body. It definitely won't be good for your new knees. Where if you're in this position, my inside edge of my foot is now the flat part of my big toe.
This feels really weird to my knees. Like wrong to my knees.
I know, and one of the reasons you have such bad knee problems is you pronate. Your weight goes to the outsides of your feet when you walk, which means you have no control over the amount of damage or shock that your knees absorb. You're used
So I'm really not hurting my knees by doing this, even though it feels like I am.
What this is doing is this is taking pressure off, because if you stood on your knees that way, right? Okay, now if you stand like that, okay.